after 10 incredible years together. I never imagined my wife, Hannah, would ask for an open marriage. Our life together had been beautiful. We had built something real, something meaningful. Hannah was thriving in her marketing career, and I was steadily working toward my dream of becoming a comic book artist. I had always believed that our love was intense and passionate, a bond unshaken by time. That evening, when she came home from work, I noticed something peculiar about her energy. There was a restlessness in her movements, a strange anticipation in her eyes. Over dinner, she took a deep breath, her fingers tightening around her fork, and then she said it. "Aaron, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I want an open marriage." The words hit me like a thunderclap. My fork clattered against the plate as I stared at her, struggling to process what I had just heard. "What?" My voice came out hoarse, disbelief tightening my throat. "Why?" She hesitated for only a second before gathering her confidence. "I miss the excitement of being chased by men," she admitted, her eyes searching mine as if expecting me to understand. "Excitement?" I echoed, forcing my voice to remain level despite the storm brewing inside me. "You want to throw away our marriage because you miss feeling excited? Hannah, you're not a teenager. Come on, Aaron. Don't be so dinosaur-minded," she countered, rolling her eyes. "I'm not throwing anything away if you just accept this. You have the same freedom, too. It's progressive. It's empowering." I scoffed. "Empowering?" She launched into a long-winded explanation, claiming she missed the thrill of being desired, the validation of new attention. She spoke of freedom, of modern relationships, of how love should be open and unrestrictive. Then, as if sensing my resistance, she added with an edge of accusation, "If you don't agree, you're just being narrow-minded, insecure, and controlling. You should trust me. You shouldn't feel threatened." I stared at her, my mind reeling. Was this really my wife talking? The woman I had loved and trusted for a decade? "You know," I said slowly, leaning forward, my fingers interlaced as I studied her, "I've listened to enough stories about wives suddenly bringing up open marriages." Her eyes lit up slightly, as if she thought I was warming to the idea, but I wasn't finished. And in almost every case, they already have someone else in mind. Her eyes flickered, just for a moment, but it was enough. I had my answer before she could even speak. "So," I said, holding her gaze, making the silence stretch between us until it became suffocating, "who is it, Hannah?" Her breath hitched. "No one, Aaron." "How could you even think that?" she asked, feigning outrage. "How dare you? What the hell am I supposed to think, Hannah?" I shot back. "You walk in here and ask me to let you sleep with other men like it's just another casual request, like it's natural." She denied it over and over again, insisting that this was purely theoretical, that she had no one in mind, that this was about philosophy, not infidelity. But I knew better. I took a deep breath, exhaling slowly. "Well, either way, my answer is no," I said, my voice firm. "And now, you've given me a real reason to consider divorce." She blanched, her confidence wavering. "Aaron, no, please." "No," she whispered, panic flashing across her face. "We can talk this out. I was just curious. It doesn't have to go that far. I love you. I don't want to lose you." I shook my head. My appetite had soured. My stomach churned with unease. Without another word, I scraped my barely touched dinner into the trash, tossed my plate into the sink, grabbed my wallet and keys, and walked out. For the next few days, Hannah was unusually quiet. The woman who had been so self-assured, so eager to argue the virtues of an open marriage, now seemed withdrawn, hesitant. I thought, perhaps foolishly, that my clear stance had made her reconsider. That illusion shattered one evening when she came into the living room, standing stiffly in the doorway. "Aaron, I need to talk to you." I looked up, already bracing for what was coming. She hesitated, then walked over, sitting across from me. Her hands were clasped so tightly in her lap that her knuckles were white. "I've been thinking," she said carefully, "and I've been reading up more on polyamory and open relationships. I want to be honest with you if we're going to move forward. But please, Keep in mind, I'm doing this to show you that there's nothing to fear in an open marriage. I admit I didn't start off right, but I want to be truthful now. Silence. Then she took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling, as if she were about to step into a storm. There's someone at work. Her voice wavered. His name is Jaden. We've been seeing each other. A cold weight settled in my stomach. Seeing each other? I repeated, my voice slow, deliberate. You mean you've been sleeping with him? She hesitated, but then, finally, she nodded. Her eyes darted away from mine. It's not just physical, Aaron, she whispered. He makes me feel alive. Wanted. Like I'm young and attractive again. I stared at her, the woman I had built a life with, the woman I had trusted implicitly, and suddenly she felt like a stranger. And you admit your feelings for him, I said, my voice hollow, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. So, this is why you want an open marriage, to justify your affair. No, she said quickly, desperation creeping into her tone. It's not like that. I'm being honest with you now. I don't want to lose you. I love you. I thought we could make it work. You thought? I echoed, my voice dripping with bitterness. That you could cheat on me, then reframe it as some enlightened, modern lifestyle choice. I scoffed. That's not progressive, Hannah. That's betrayal. Her jaw clenched, her eyes flashing with defiance. What's regressive is your refusal to even consider it. You're so set in your ways, so conservative and closed-minded, it's suffocating. I shot to my feet, unable to sit still any longer. You hate that I valued our marriage, I said, my voice dangerously low. That I believed in our vows, that I trusted you. I hate that you refused to grow. She snapped back, standing to meet me. Marriage doesn't have to mean locking ourselves into some outdated, oppressive ideal. I want more out of life. Aaron, I want to feel alive. And Jaden gives me that. A hollow laugh escaped my lips. And what about me, Hannah? I asked coldly. What do I get out of this so-called progressive arrangement? The privilege of sitting at home while you screw your co-worker? She flinched, as if she hadn't even considered my side of this. You could see other women too, she offered hesitantly, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. It doesn't have to be one-sided. I stared at her, my heart pounding. But in that moment, I already knew. This marriage was over. I laughed, the sound bitter and hollow. The hypocrisy was staggering. She had suggested an open marriage, but every argument, every justification, had only ever been about herself. And yet, she had the audacity to frame it as something for us, as if this was a mutual journey rather than a selfish betrayal. I fixed my gaze on her, my patience razor thin. I don't want other women, Hannah. I wanted my wife, the woman I thought I married. But it seems she doesn't exist anymore. For a moment, a flicker of guilt crossed her face, a brief hesitation in her confidence. But then, just as quickly, she straightened her shoulders, lifted her chin, and steeled herself. I won't apologize for wanting more, Aaron. And if you can't handle that, maybe you're right. Maybe this marriage isn't going to work. Her words hung in the air like the final nails in a coffin, heavy, suffocating, inescapable. But even as they settled between us, I felt the weight begin to lift. Where I expected devastation, there was only clarity. A deep, overwhelming sadness, yes, but also relief. I studied her for a long moment, this stranger who wore my wife's face, and exhaled slowly. You're right, I said quietly. It isn't. Without another word, I rose from my chair. I'll talk to a lawyer tomorrow. We'll work out the divorce. Her mouth parted slightly in shock, but I didn't stay to watch her reaction. I left her sitting there, retreating to our bedroom, where I gathered my things and moved into the guest room that night. I had hoped that was a final argument, that she would accept my decision. But Hannah wasn't ready to let me go so easily. A few days later, she brought reinforcements. I was sitting at the dining table, absently scrolling through YouTube while eating a burger and fries, when they stormed in Hannah, her mother Iris, her sister Ashley, and her friends Haley and Allison. A whole squad of self-righteous warriors, determined to drag me back into their twisted version of reality. Iris, ever the poised matriarch, took the lead, gracefully lowering herself into the chair across from me. The others flanked her like a panel of judges. Hannah sat beside her mother, looking at me with carefully rehearsed concern, while Ashley, Haley, and Allison stood behind them, arms crossed, eyes sharp with judgment. I sighed, setting down my food and crossing my arms. Go ahead. Let's get this nonsense over with. Iris leaned forward slightly, her voice gentle, almost maternal. Erin, sweetie, we need to talk about this. Really talk. You need to open your eyes. Relationships are evolving. They don't have to be these rigid, oppressive things anymore. She smiled as if she were bestowing some great wisdom upon me. Ethical non-monogamy can be empowering for both partners. I raised an eyebrow. Empowering? I scoffed. Is that what we're calling betrayal now? Ashley rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, Erin. This isn't betrayal. It's about honesty. Hannah was brave enough to tell you what she wants. That takes courage. Do you know how many women just stay silent and let their resentment fester? I exhaled a slow, humorless laugh. Brave. I repeated, shaking my head. You think I should applaud her for having an affair and then try and dress it up as some kind of progressive philosophy? Haley jumped in, her voice exasperated but patient, as if she were explaining something obvious to a child. Of course. She didn't handle it perfectly, but she's trying to include you in her journey. That's what ethical non-monogamy is about. Honesty, communication, mutual respect. If you could just get over your control issues and your damned insecurities. My jaw clenched. My damned insecurities? I interrupted, my temper flaring. You mean my refusal to let my wife turn our marriage into a circus so she can feel chase again? Yeah, I guess I'm insecure about that. That's exactly what we mean, Allison said coolly, stepping forward and placing a hand on the back of Hannah's chair. Her eyes locked onto mine with unsettling determination. You're scared of change, scared of not being in control. You're clinging to this outdated idea of what a marriage should be because you're afraid you won't measure up to someone like Jaden. My hands curled into fists beneath the table, my patience framed by the second. I don't give a damn about measuring up to Jaden, I said, my voice low, controlled. But she wasn't finished. You do, she pressed, her lips curling into something between pity and condescension. You're obviously hiding behind your values, because deep down you know you're inadequate. You know Hannah found someone who can please her better than you. Beside her, Hannah stiffened. Allison, stop, she whispered, shaking her head, her face paling. But it was too late. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling another bitter laugh. Again, I said slowly, I don't give a goddamn anymore. Not in that way. Not about her and not about him. I looked around at all of them, my gaze piercing. You all don't seem to understand something. I see this marriage for what it is. Dead. The room fell silent. As for my so-called beliefs, I continued, my voice turning sharp. You don't marry someone knowing exactly where they stand on something as fundamental as monogamy, then ambush them with the idea of change that goes against everything they value. That's not progress. That's manipulation. One of them started to protest, but I held up a hand. I don't care what labels you want to put on this. My gaze swept over each of them, my voice steady, unwavering. Hannah destroyed my trust the moment she decided to sleep with someone else behind my back. For the first time, Hannah finally spoke, her voice quiet but firm. I made a mistake, Erin, but I'm trying to fix it. I want us to grow together. This could make us stronger if you just stop giving in to your fragile ego and being so stubborn. Stronger? I let out a hollow laugh. Asterisk, you really think bringing other people into our marriage is going to make it stronger? That's delusional. Ashley scoffed, arms crossed. It's not delusional. Polyfidelity is a legitimate relationship structure. It's about building a network of love and support, about equal partners agreeing on mutual boundaries. I shook my head. And yet, I said, my voice laced with ice. Whenever someone tries to sell this idea, the only thing they ever seem to talk about is the sex. I gave her a pointed look. Let's call this what it is, an excuse to sleep around without consequences. You're being so close-minded, Haley snapped. If you just let go of this toxic jealousy, you'd see how liberating this could be. Hannah is offering you honesty. I stood abruptly, cutting her off. I don't need liberation. I need loyalty. I believe in commitment, in honoring vows. If that makes me conservative, fine. I'll wear that label proudly. But don't stand there and tell me I'm the one who's wrong for wanting a marriage that isn't a joke. Allison folded her arms, shaking her head. You're so wrapped up in your fragile masculinity, you can't even see this for what it is, a chance to evolve. My eyes narrowed, holding Hannah back. I scoffed. She's free to walk out that door right now, to run straight to Jaden or whoever the hell she wants. But she isn't my wife anymore. She's for the streets now. And you're all here trying to gaslight me into thinking I'm the problem? Asterisk. I shook my head. Not anymore. As I pointed toward the door, a cold finality settled in my chest. I've put up with this nonsense long enough. I'm done. All of you, get out. Hannah's face flushed with frustration, her arms crossing over her chest as she leaned back in her chair, eyes sharp with defiance. I'm not a whore, Aaron. Stop being disrespectful just because you're angry. I'm your wife. I let out a dark laugh, devoid of warmth. Not anymore. Her jaw tightened. I haven't seen any divorce papers yet. Oh my God, you're impossible, she snapped, throwing her hands in the air. You're so stuck in your ways that you can't even consider another perspective. You'd rather throw away everything we built than try to make this work. No, I said, my voice firm and unwavering. You threw it away the moment you decided your desires were more important than our marriage. I'm just cleaning up the mess you made, taking out the trash. My eyes locked onto hers, the weight of my words making her shift uncomfortably in her seat. Don't worry, you'll get those divorce papers soon. I have a few things to iron out first, but they'll be in front of you before you know it. Silence blanketed the room, thick and heavy. The women who had marched in so boldly, ready to lecture and belittle me, now sat in stunned stillness, realization dawning on their faces. Their attempt to shame me into submission had failed. One by one, their glare softened into expressions of frustration, but none of them had the courage to speak again. I grabbed my coat, turning toward the door. I'll let my lawyer handle the rest, I said, my voice calm yet final. Good luck with your so-called empowerment. You're going to need it. And with that, I walked out, leaving them in the suffocating silence of their own failed intervention. Despite that last confrontation, I didn't immediately file for divorce. This, of course, gave Hannah a false sense of hope, a fragile illusion that perhaps I was reconsidering. She and her circle continued their relentless attempts to persuade me, mistaking my silence for hesitation. What they didn't realize was that I wasn't stalling out of doubt. I was gathering proof. I had already hired a private investigator, determined to get concrete evidence of Hannah's affair. I needed something undeniable, something that would protect me from any manipulation or lies during the divorce proceedings. I knew her well enough to suspect she would try to rewrite the story, painting herself as the misunderstood woman simply searching for growth, while I was a bitter, controlling husband who wouldn't adapt. Weeks passed, and to her credit, Hannah was careful. After our explosive fights, she refrained from seeing Jaden for a while, likely hoping to rebuild trust, or at least give herself plausible deniability. But restraint was never her strong suit. Eventually, desire overpowered caution, and just like that, she was caught, on camera, in text messages, timestamps and all. When I received the investigator's report, a wave of fury surged through me, but it was brief, like a storm that had already exhausted its energy. There was no more shock, no more heartbreak, only the confirmation of what I already knew. The woman I had married was gone, the one standing before me, spouting progressive nonsense while betraying the vows we had taken, was a stranger, a deceitful, manipulative stranger. I filed for divorce the very next day. Of course, I didn't walk away without a final act of justice. The report, filled with damning evidence, somehow found its way to Hannah's company. Anonymously, of course. And if they had a strict zero-tolerance policy for supervisors engaging in relationships with their subordinates, well, that was just an unfortunate consequence of her actions. Hannah's voice now takes over, a bitter echo of regret. I know most of you probably already hate me, she begins, her tone subdued, weary. But I just wanted to give this story some closure. Back then, I didn't think Aaron would actually go through with it. Sure, he talked about divorce. He even threatened it. But after that final fight with my mom, my sister, and my friends, he stayed. So I convinced myself that meant something. That he was just angry and needed time. That eventually we'd talk and find a way forward. But when the divorce papers arrived, I knew he wasn't bluffing. And worse, he wasn't done with me yet. She exhales, the weight of her next words pressing down on her. A few weeks after signing the papers, I was called into a meeting with HR. Jaden was there too, his face pale, avoiding my eyes. The second I walked in, my stomach dropped. I knew. The HR manager laid it all out. A complaint had been filed, one backed by undeniable evidence. Photos, videos, timestamps, even text messages. My text messages. I still don't know how they got them. But there it was, all laid bare. Aaron had reported us. It could have only been him. I tried to downplay it, to explain. Hell, I even tried to play the victim. Leaned on the sisterhood, and threw Jaden under the bus, implying that he had taken advantage of me. But the damage was done. The company had a strict policy, and the evidence spoke for itself. And so, by the end of the week, both Jaden and I were out of a job. Her voice wavers, but she presses on. For a brief moment, I was ashamed of what I'd done to him. But my own career being destroyed, that was devastating. Still, the worst part came after. Jaden, the man I had risked everything for, told me he couldn't handle the fallout, that he was done, that my betrayal had ruined everything. Betrayal. He sounded just like Aaron. But even I had to admit he was right. The moment things got tough, I turned on him. I would have lost respect for him if he had stayed. If he had, I would have seen him as weak, as a man I could manipulate until I found someone worthy enough to give all of myself to. It's disgusting to admit, but it's the truth. She lets out a bitter laugh, hollow and self-deprecating. In the months that followed, I tried to move on, but nothing worked. Every man I dated either recoiled at the baggage or saw me as nothing more than a casual fling. No one wanted to build a life with someone who had torched their own marriage and career in one fell swoop. And in the quiet of the night, when the loneliness was at its worst, I would think about Aaron, about the life we had built, and about how I had thrown it all away. He wasn't perfect, but he had loved me completely, and I had let that go. For what? A fleeting thrill? A fantasy of freedom that had turned into a nightmare? I heard through mutual friends that Aaron was doing well, focusing on his art, even dating again. He deserved happiness. And I had no one to blame but myself for not being part of it. The woman who destroyed our marriage, that wasn't the real me. But it was too late to undo the damage. And the regret, that would follow me for the rest of my life. She pauses, as if searching for words that will never come. Then, softly, she concludes, "Ladies, the grass isn't always greener. If you have a good man, don't take him for granted. Don't chase illusions of excitement that leave nothing but destruction in their wake. Marriage takes work. It takes effort. And if you're looking for an easy fix, an open relationship, or some progressive fantasy isn't it. Trust me, I learned that the hard way.